The ocean has always been good at hiding its mistakes. Long before humans built cities, long before the first ships crossed the seas, there was a predator so large, so dominant, that even today it refuses to stay buried in the past. We call it Megalodon. But that name alone doesn't capture the reality of what it was. Because nothing about Megalodon was normal. Not its size. Not its power. And certainly not the world that created it. To understand why Megalodon existed, we have to go back to an ocean that no longer exists. An ocean warmer, richer, and far more dangerous than the one we know today. An ocean where evolution was quietly experimenting with extremes. Megalodon did not evolve in isolation. Around 23 million years ago, during the Miocene epoch, Earth entered a strange balance. The planet was warm, but not chaotic. Sea levels were high. Shallow oceans flooded continental shelves, creating vast marine highways filled with life. Whales were diversifying rapidly. Early forms of modern whales spread across the seas, growing larger, slower, and more energy-rich. To evolution, this was an invitation. Wherever large prey appears, something larger eventually follows. And the oceans answered that call. It's tempting to imagine Megalodon as nothing more than a scaled-up great white shark. That assumption is comforting. And completely wrong. Megalodon was not a simple enlargement of an existing predator. Its body proportions, jaw mechanics, and feeding strategy suggest something far more specialized, and far more dangerous. Its jaws alone were nearly 2 meters wide. When they opened, they didn't snap shut like modern sharks. They engulfed. A single bite could crush bone, shear through muscle, and dismantle a whale in seconds. Not by tearing, but by structural collapse. Computer models estimate Megalodon's bite force at over 180,000 newtons. That is not predation. That is demolition. Megalodon's teeth are the most common fossils it left behind, and they tell a disturbing story. Each tooth could grow larger than a human hand. Thick, serrated, and reinforced, they weren't designed to slice like a knife. They were designed to shatter. Unlike modern sharks that target soft tissue, Megalodon went for the ribcage, the spine, the flippers. It attacked whales where movement ended instantly. This wasn't hunting. It was execution. And the ocean, at the time, was full of victims. In the ancient oceans, size wasn't just an advantage. It was survival. Larger bodies retain heat better. They travel farther with less energy. They dominate migration routes. Megalodon likely patrolled entire ocean basins, following whale migrations across hemispheres. Its metabolism, once thought to be cold-blooded, may have been partially warm-blooded, allowing it to remain active in cooler waters. This meant no refuge. Where whales went, Megalodon followed. The oceans became smaller. Today, whales have escape strategies. They dive deep. They migrate to cold waters. They travel in pods. But during Megalodon's reign, those strategies may not have worked. Evidence suggests Megalodon could dive deep, tolerate cold, and accelerate with terrifying bursts of speed. It wasn't limited to one environment. It owned all of them. Nursery grounds near coastlines. Open ocean feeding zones. Migration corridors stretching thousands of kilometers. There was no edge of the map where it couldn't go. Predators usually exist in balance with their ecosystems. Megalodon may have pushed that balance to its breaking point. Its size demanded enormous energy intake. That meant constant killing. Constant pressure on whale populations already adapting to new environments. And yet, for millions of years it worked. The system held. Which raises a disturbing question. If Megalodon was so perfectly adapted, if it dominated the oceans completely, what could possibly have been powerful enough to erase it? Because predators like this don't disappear quietly. They don't fade away. They collapse. Even after its extinction, Megalodon refuses to disappear from human imagination. Its teeth still wash up on beaches. Its silhouette still haunts documentaries. Its absence still feels unnatural. Because when something that dominant vanishes, it leaves behind a gap. And oceans don't like gaps. They filled them. But what replaced Megalodon was not another giant. It was something very different. Something faster, smarter, and far more adaptable. Extinction is rarely sudden. It doesn't arrive as a single catastrophe, but as a slow tightening of invisible limits. Temperatures shift. Currents change. Food moves, and never comes back. For millions of years, Megalodon sat comfortably at the top of the marine world. But the ocean that once fed giants was quietly transforming into something far less forgiving. And Megalodon didn't notice, until it was too late. The Miocene seas were warm, shallow, and rich. But Earth does not stay still. Around 15 million years ago, global cooling began to accelerate. Polar ice expanded. Sea levels fell. Entire shallow seas vanished as coastlines retreated. These shallow waters were not just geography. They were nurseries. Whales used them to give birth. Young whales grew slowly, protected from the open ocean. And Megalodon used these same zones to hunt the easiest prey available. When the seas receded, those nurseries disappeared. And with them, the most reliable food source Megalodon had. Whales did something Megalodon could not. They adapted. As oceans cooled, whales grew smarter, faster, and more social. Baleen whales began long-distance migrations between feeding and breeding grounds. Toothed whales developed echolocation, group defense, and complex communication. Speed increased. Coordination improved. Escape became possible. Megalodon, despite its size, was not built for endurance chases. Its massive body favored ambush and overwhelming force. But ambush only works when prey is predictable. And whales stopped being predictable. Gigantism looks impressive, but it comes with a hidden price. A body that large requires constant fuel. Miss a few meals, and the system begins to fail. Modern great white sharks can survive weeks without feeding. Megalodon likely could not. Its metabolism, possibly partially warm-blooded, burned energy relentlessly. Every day without prey was a gamble. Every migration it failed to intercept was a loss it couldn't recover from. Smaller predators could adapt. Megalodon had no room for error. While Megalodon struggled, something else was quietly rising. Early great white sharks. Smaller, faster, far more efficient. They didn't need to kill whales. They scavenged. They targeted seals, fish, and weakened prey. They required less energy and reproduced faster. Where Megalodon was a specialist, great whites were opportunists. And in a changing ocean, opportunists survive. Continental shifts reshaped currents. The closure of seaways altered entire ecosystems. Cold currents isolated warm zones. Migration routes fractured. For a predator dependent on wide, open highways of prey, this was catastrophic. Megalodon's world was shrinking. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Each lost corridor meant fewer encounters. Each cooler region meant higher energy cost. Each missing nursery meant fewer young whales, and fewer meals. When environments change, species often retreat to refuges. Megalodon had none. Too large for shallow waters. Too energy-dependent for cold regions. Too specialized to switch diets. It was trapped by its own perfection. Evolution had built it for a world that no longer existed. Then, around 3.6 million years ago, something unsettling happens. Megalodon teeth, once found across every ocean, simply stop appearing. No gradual decline. No slow fade. Just absence. The ocean did not explode. The planet did not burn. Life continued. But the largest predator Earth had ever produced was gone. Did Megalodon starve? Did competition finish it? Did climate push it beyond its limits? The truth is uncomfortable. It was likely all of them at once. A perfect storm designed not to kill quickly, but to leave no path forward. Because Megalodon wasn't weak. It wasn't flawed. It wasn't unlucky. It was too successful. And that is the most dangerous position any species can occupy. Extinction is often framed as failure. A species that couldn't survive. A lineage that reached its end. But Megalodon did not fail because it was weak. It failed because it was perfect for the wrong world. And that makes its story far more unsettling. For millions of years, Megalodon existed without equals. No rival could challenge it. No prey could reliably escape it. No environment truly excluded it. And that dominance shaped everything about its biology. Its size. Its appetite. Its hunting strategy. All optimized for one assumption, that the ocean would always remain abundant. Evolution rewarded this assumption, until it didn't. Because evolution never guarantees permanence. When climates cooled, Megalodon could not shrink. When prey diversified, Megalodon could not diversify with them. When migration routes fractured, Megalodon could not simply switch targets. Its strength locked it into a narrow path. And when that path disappeared, there was nowhere else to go. Smaller sharks adapted. Whales adapted. Entire ecosystems reshuffled. Megalodon stood still. Not because it was slow, but because it was too specialized to change. After Megalodon vanished, something strange happened. The oceans never produced another predator like it. Not once. Despite millions of years. Despite new whales. Despite new opportunities. Nature seemed to hesitate. The reason may be simple. A predator that large destabilizes the system it depends on. It pushes prey to evolve faster, migrate farther, or disappear. Eventually, it removes the very foundation that supports it. Megalodon wasn't just hunting whales. It was reshaping the ocean around itself. After Megalodon, the apex of the ocean changed. Raw size gave way to something else. Speed. Coordination. Intelligence. Modern apex predators don't dominate through mass alone. They use strategy. They cooperate. They adapt quickly. Orcas don't overpower the ocean. They outthink it. And that may be the true turning point Megalodon never crossed. Even today, Megalodon feels unfinished. Stories persist. Sightings are claimed. Silhouettes are imagined in deep water. But this isn't because Megalodon might still exist. It's because we struggle to accept that something so overwhelming could simply end. Its absence feels wrong. As if the ocean should still belong to something that large. But absence is the point. Megalodon was not a monster. It was a message. A reminder that evolution does not care about fear, dominance, or scale. Only flexibility. The moment a species becomes too successful, too optimized, too dependent on a single version of the world, it places a limit on its own future. The oceans today are colder, deeper, more fragmented. And yet, they still carry Megalodon's shadow. In the bite marks found on ancient whale bones. In the teeth pulled from seabeds millions of years later. In the uncomfortable truth that the largest predator to ever live was erased without drama. No final battle. No catastrophe. Just a world that moved on. If Megalodon were alive today, it would not rule the oceans. It would starve in them. Because the ocean no longer rewards size alone. It rewards change. And nothing about Megalodon was built to change. The deep does not remember kings. It remembers what survives. And sometimes, the most terrifying thing nature ever created is also the easiest thing for it to erase.